Hi friends, welcome to day 5 of our Advent Stitch Along. Today we are going to be working on the grass section right here under our wise men. We're going to be using color 3362 and we're going to be switching over to our size 22 needle. That is the needle with the bigger eye hole. So let's get stitching. Alright, so I have my color 3362 on my size 22 needle, and we are using all 6 strands today, so no splitting our floss, which is really great. It just means one less step we have to do. We are going to be using a seed stitch here in the front. It's going to be mixed a little bit with a loopy stitch, which just means we're doing a seed stitch, but we're not pulling our floss so tight. We're leaving it making like a slight loop, so that when you pull it down, it's almost as if you see a little loop right there. It's kind of hard to explain coming down from this angle, but you'll see it in just a second. One quick warning, today and tomorrow and the following day are all the exact same stitch. We're using one color here, one color up here. These are the days that take a little bit longer. Today is placed on a Friday, so that hopefully you have the weekend to catch up, and if you really want, you can go ahead and do this one, because, or at least start on it, because it's the exact same thing. You don't need another video really to teach you anything. But I would maybe move ahead if you want to try and stay caught up, because today will take you just a little bit longer. So now that I've clarified all that and possibly scared you, let me show you what we're doing. If you've never seen a seed stitch before, essentially it's just a bunch of little back stitches in a random pattern filling in a space. So let me show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start in this top left corner and bring my floss down, and we're going to make a little bit bigger back stitches so that it fills the space a little more quickly for us. I'm going to come right down there, and when I pull it, this is the part that makes it a little loop stitch. I'm going to leave just a little bit of a gap. Let me see if I can, you can see a little bit from that angle. Let's see if I can get it. Do you see how it's hanging out there just a little bit? That might be just slightly too much, but we don't want it pulled like this. All right, so we're trying to leave just a little bit of a gap there, and that's what's helping give us that really fluffy look to the grass. Okay, let's get this focus again. Okay, so that's the first stitch for you. Now every stitch after this, you're just going in different directions. It's like, think about blades of grass. I mean, you're just filling it in as best as you can. So I have found that the best way to do this for me is kind of find a pattern in my head. There really is no pattern to this, but I like to go from top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to top, and just keep going back and forth until I'm filling in this space. So this first one was from top to bottom. Now I'm going to start here at the bottom. And go to the top. I'm trying to move in a different direction than this first stitch. Don't pull it down too much. Now I'm at the top again, so I'm going to go from the top to the bottom again. And this just is what works best for me. If you want to do it slightly different, you can. If you want to keep your stitches a little bit closer together to start with, then that is perfectly fine. So now I'm at the bottom. I'm going to move towards the top again. And don't be afraid to move kind of in a diagonal line. You don't want all your stitches to be straight up and down, even if they're slightly curved. But don't, I would say the only direction you don't really want to move in is you don't want to make a completely horizontal line, because that's just not as natural in the grass. You might do it a little bit down here when you get closer to some of the connecting points with this path right here, but it's not a very natural way for grass to look. So I would avoid that direction. I'm going to come right here. And honestly, it's a little bit of a guessing game. Like, you get to a spot and you're like, okay, what direction do I want to go into? Okay, I think I'm going to go here. And And I would say my biggest suggestion to you is after you have finished filling in this whole area, I would go outside and look in the natural light and see where you have possibly missed some spots, because it might look really full and filled in when you're looking either under just fluorescent lighting or something like that. But once you really take it into the direct light, you will see where your fabric is still being shown through. But also, with that said, if that looks good to you, you don't need to feel like you have to fill in every single tiny little stitch, or not stitch, but every tiny little spot that fabric is still showing through at. So I don't even remember now if I was coming from the top or the bottom. But I would say, even though there isn't much rhyme or reason to this, I would say try and work in patches. Like, I don't want to work here and then work over here and then work over here. You want to kind of move your stitches along slowly. I saw one person doing this stitch, and I was trying to like study the way they were doing it to see, like, they didn't say anything, but I was trying to see if maybe they had a pattern in the way that they do it, and it kind of looked like their goal was always to cover up one of the starting or ending points of the stitch. So whether it's covering, let me show you with the needle a little bit better than my finger. So whether it was covering this part right here or this part down here, it's like they were always trying to cover the spot that they came either up or down at. So that might be, you can kind of watch what you're doing and see if maybe that works for you. I think the hardest thing about this stitch is that for areas where you're meeting the line of where your pattern is, it's kind of hard to not just do the same stitch over and over. It's hard to not just like straight line, straight line, straight line, because even when you come in sideways, you kind of have to come in kind of sideways the other direction, if that makes sense. But when you are done stitching, if you again step back, look at it and say, my grass looks a little funky in this spot, let me put a few more stitches over it and kind of cover some areas that look like they meet at a funny direction, you can do that. Another thing I'll note, and then I think I'm going to probably fast forward because the stitch really does take the longest and you're not going to be able to watch me the whole time. When you do the sides over here, try and, some stitches are going to come directly like right here, but you want to be a little bit more sideways so that you're not having too many blunt ends at the very edge of the piece. So I'm even tucking this one just a little bit. See how that helps give a little more of a curve than having a blunt end like this. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward for the rest of this. You're not gonna be able to watch all of it because it's gonna take a while. One other thing I would say about when you're coming around the Wiseman, it's the same as what I said up here. It's going to be a little hard to not do too many straight stitches, but just try to help keep it organic. Just try not to do straight line down, 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 down. Try and give it some angles. If you need to go a little bit sideways to fill the space in, you can. And remember, because we're not pulling these stitches all the way down, it's helping add that fullness, so that there will be more fluff around their feet. So, all right, I'm going to fast forward the rest of this and then I'll come back for when I'm done stitching for just my video time. friends, that is all I'm going to show you today for day 5. Go ahead and finish the rest of this grass on your own. I really think I started following that quote pattern that I mentioned to you earlier, as far as trying to always cover one of the holes that you either came up or came down from, and I think that worked a lot better. This stitch is still relatively new for me as far as filling in a big space, so I'm still even learning alongside you what I really think works well. So I think that worked really well. I think that that's kind of the way to go. So hopefully that helps you. Okay, so as I said, come back Monday. We're going to work on this side right here, and if over the weekend you want to finish this and not finish the grass today exactly on Friday, feel free to do that. And if you even want to go ahead and move ahead, you can work on this over the weekend as well. But either way, I'll see you back for day 6.